Hello everyone, my name is Seth Levy and I am the Manager of Small Scale Development at Thermo Fisher Viral Vector Services. I want to first thank ASGCT and Dr. Ian Taylor, the Chief Business Officer at Solentum, for allowing me to present this data today. I'm here to talk about how my group uses the Solentum cell metric to document clonality and cell growth through single cell cloning projects as part of the CMC process in viral vector production. As gene therapy products move through the pipeline, regulatory bodies expect rigorous controls to be employed in the manufacturing process. The cell metric is a great solution as part of that control strategy. Solentum's philosophy is, at its heart, we recognize the value of the single cell. The cell metric provides evidence of clonally derived cell banks, captures day zero images of single cells in the well, offers daily imaging assurance, provides combined clonality reporting, and is the industry standard with proven IND submission successes. You can see the cell metric on the left and the automated plate loader on the right. Here is an example of the user interface. You see the plate map on the left, where when you click on a well, you have a dynamic image which allows you to zoom in and out of different sections of the well. It's very powerful. The cell metric also captures the date and time of the images. It's pretty user-friendly. We really have no issues using it in our lab. This slide demonstrates how well the cell metric gives one the ability to see cells right up against the wall. As you can tell from this image and what I'll show you later, the cell metric delivers very crisp images. To give real-world examples of this instrument in use, I'm going to tell you how Viral Vector Services employs the cell metric whole well imager for proof of clonality in single cell cloning. So VVS, also known as Brammer Bio, has extensive track record producing viral vectors. We have process and analytical development. We have GMP manufacturing. We have 60 different viral vector products produced, close to 150 cGMP lots manufactured for clinical or commercial use, and 10 different platform offerings. And now that we are part of the Thermo Fisher umbrella, we also have the ability to offer Thermo Fisher platform cell lines, such as XP293F cells for lentivirus or AAV production, the CTS virus production cells for lentivirus or AAV, also called the VPCs. We have the XPSF9 cells for AAV production in the baculovirus system. We also have HEK293, HEK293T adherent cells, again for lentivirus or AAV. So now I'll kind of get into a little bit more detail about the scientific considerations for why you would choose to do single cell cloning. First of all, it minimizes the heterogeneity within a cell bank, such as a master cell bank, so that it's capable of consistent manufacture of a product. This allows for a selection of high-producing clones, different growth rates, really whatever your criteria is that you're looking for in your cells. This is also going to be a critical step if you're using producer cell lines. Another consideration is that any potential change made to the upstream process presents the potential to put selective pressure on cell cultures, which may result in changes to the final product. So any change in raw materials, any change in process parameters, the site of manufacturing, all of those can select for subpopulations of cells. If you start with a single cell clone, all of those cells should face the same pressure and should hopefully respond the same way. And as I mentioned earlier, the cell metric can play a critical role as part of the CMC control strategy from a regulatory standpoint. So now we'll talk a little bit more about the regulatory considerations. The latest guideline from the FDA was given in January of this year. And while currently no single regulatory document explicitly states that cell banks must be monoclonal, the ICH and the FDA kind of both expect cell banks, especially master cell banks, to be monoclonal. And assurance of clonality is a big part of your overall control strategy for this. And the cell metric provides this assurance of clonality with image documentation of single cell origin. Information on how the clone was expanded, assessed, and selected also help to support your filings. Now we'll get a bit more specific on how we use the cell metric to support these topics. Our typical single-cell cloning workflow uses a few very important tools. We start with thawing a vial of cells to keep the passage number down. After 3 passages, we use our single-cell printer to disperse 1 cell per well in a 96-well plate. The cell printer images the cells that meet our selection criteria, but it does not image cells in the well. For that, we move to the cell metric. The whole well imager allows us to image starting at day 0. So a few hours after printing, we're already imaging these cells in the well. And as we scale up the single cell clones, we typically perform small scale screens on a number of clones before selecting a few kind of lead candidate clones to be screened in a more applicable setting. So for suspension cells, we can employ the use of our Amber 15. For adherent cells, we can make use of the iCELLis Nano platform or T-Flasks. So our single-cell cloning platform is capable of cloning mammalian and insect cell lines, both suspension and adherent cells. The cell metric is invaluable to us because it verifies clonality at day 0 and throughout scale-up. So we can image clones from a 96-well plate into a 24-well plate into a 6-well plate, all on the cell metric. So that allows us to track clones from seeding all the way up to a T-flask or shake flask. It's very powerful. We also are able to identify cells at day 0, which helps us calculate the percentage of outgrowth after seeding. So for example, with SF9 single cell cloning, we can see up to 30% outgrowth after seeding. And these are not with stable producer cell lines. These are just, wild type, for lack of a better word, SF9 cells. The cell metric also provides confluency measurements, and a clonality report can be generated for each clone to track its growth over time. I'm going to show you examples of an HEK293 and SF9 clonality reports after this, but this is definitely our client's favorite part when we're actually going through this and we show them these images. They always love to see the clonality reports. So we also use the cell metric multiple times a week, and we've been doing so for several years. It's a real workhorse instrument in our laboratory. So as you can see on the report, there's a good deal of information captured by the cell metric that makes its way onto the clonality report. So you can label the batch number or lot number at the top. You can use a plate identifying number to keep track of multiple plates when you're seeding and imaging them more than one at a time. The clonality report also displays the selected well information in addition to the date and time stamp of the image occurred. And it tracks, as you can see, from well D3 here from an HEK293 adherent cell, you can see every time we image it, it just piles it into the same report. It's incredibly powerful. And so you can see kind of in the expanded image of the bottom left of the well, you can see that one single cell in that well. Then when we image a few days later, you can see multiple cells. And then as we kind of move forward through time, again, you see more and more cells pretty clearly from the small image and from the enhanced image. It's really quite powerful, and there's a lot to see. I'm now going to show you kind of an SF9 cell, so kind of a slightly different appearance, a little bit more translucent. But again, you can see we start with a single cell. You can again, identify which well you're tracking over time, the batch number, lot number, the plate number, and there's a timestamp associated with it. So this is from something we did actually earlier this year. And so again, this is just a few hours after plating. We can then look 10 hours later, we still see that one healthy cell. When we look on the next day, we can see that one cell has become 2. So, it's incredibly powerful to see that. And we then kind of move forward through time. We see a few more cells. We again see more healthy cells. And again, before, we move up to the next plate size. So really crisp images, we're a really big fan of this instrument. That's why I'm here today. So, kind of in summary, the cell metric supports cell line development for viral vector production. Single cell cloning permits the generation of cell banks that are capable of consistent manufacture of a gene therapy product. It assures that cell monoclonality is an important part of the control strategy for consistent manufacturing of a gene therapy product. And Thermo Fisher Viral Vector Services has been able to single cell clone mammalian and insect cells utilizing the support of the Salentum cell metric. So to close, as gene therapy products move through the pipeline, regulatory bodies expect rigorous controls to be employed in the manufacturing process. The cell metric is a great solution to be part of your control strategy. Thank you to everyone for your time and attention. I'm happy to take any questions. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.